And we're live. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Okay, we're a couple minutes late, 3 minutes late, but that's just our style. That's just how we roll. So let us know that you're joining us. We're talking about content this week. Welcome to the Topic Tackle Tuesday with DNC. Today we're talking about the top 3 content creation ideas. Plus, we'll give you a content gift if you stay with us until the end. And we're really excited about this particular thing. We hope it helps because according to the comments that we got yesterday, both inside our private group and I think on our page, is that right?
Yeah, on the public.
On the public page where you're watching right now, everybody's having a lot of trouble creating content, specifically in their particular niches. So we would love to hear what you have to say about that. We would love to hear your particular struggles. And if you do have content ideas, I would love to hear those as well. And we can kind of flesh that out and create something really evergreen or something that you can make multiple, posts on, videos on, different things like that.
Exactly.
So the first thing we want to talk about is modeling after competition research, or using your target model, using competition research, or using feedback from customers to create content. So when you model your business after a more successful business, and if you've been with us and watched before, you know that we've talked about this whenever you're rebranding or starting a new business. When you're modeling after a bigger company or another business that's been doing this for a while, that has engagement, that has the success that you want, you need to look at what they use for content as well, and not just what they're putting out there, but what's getting the most engagement. And then you need to think a little bit more broadly. So if a particular topic is getting a lot of engagement, what does that topic fall under? So if I'm teaching people about, how to feel confident in their workplace, what's the bigger topic around that? Well, it's mindset. So that's a great place to start whenever you create content for your product or for your service or things like that. And I often coach people on how to think about the mindset aspect as it applies to their brand messaging. And if you're having trouble understanding what kind of content you need to create, you need to look at your brand message and see if it's clear enough for you to get it across to your customer. If your customer understands your message, if you've got a clear message like, I want to create jewelry to help new moms feel beautiful again. And that's a very clear message. So the kind of jewelry you create can come from that. The kind of content you create can come from that. For example, if it's the new moms who want to feel beautiful, what kind of content can we create? If you have ideas as I'm talking, drop them in the comments because this is going to help everybody as well. You can create content about particular struggles, right? A lot of us have been moms before or know moms, we're grandmothers, that we know what it's like to raise children. We know what it's like to be around children. We know the difficulties that adults face as parents, as guardians, as caretakers. So talk a little bit about that and bring it back to your brand in telling people, this piece of jewelry can help bring you back to the moment. This piece of jewelry, this necklace that symbolizes confidence and strength and solidarity and peace in the moment can help you feel more at home even on your toughest day. Or when you just don't feel sexy because you've been cleaning up poopy diapers, you've been thrown up on today, this piece of jewelry, while still very sturdy, right, because we're bringing it back to that brand, still very sturdy and sturdy enough to be safe around small children, is going to help you feel beautiful again. Is going to help remind you that you are not just a mom, you are a beautiful woman, a beautiful human being. So that's just modeling after your the ideal that you're looking at too. That's just taking a piece from them and seeing like, okay, how can I take what's getting engagement in my market from another very successful business, and how can I turn it to make it fit my brand? Now that's just model research. Bless you.
Oh, God. Thank you.
Now let's look at competition research. Model research is somebody who is like way high up here, right? They're your ideal. They're your mentor. They might not know it, but they're your mentor. It's what guides you through your business journey. Competition might be somebody that's that high up, but more than likely they're going to be people within your realm, within your circle, or slightly above your circle of influence that are putting out great content that is still getting engagement. And you don't have to just look at what kind of videos they have on their website. You don't have to just look at what kind of blog posts or what their podcast topics are. Look at their social media topics that are getting a lot of engagement, that's getting a lot of attention, that's going viral perhaps. No?
Well, no. So what I was going to say was that you want to, depending on what you're trying to do, it will reflect on what is proper engagement. So, for example, excuse me, when we were first starting this, as far as the DNC marketing brand is concerned, it took me quite a while to realize that having posts for us that have, maybe 20 likes and 4 comments or, etc. Like, it took me a while to realize that for our market is actually, generally speaking, right where we want to be. That actually kind of means that we made it. Like, people that we modeled after, and not necessarily in terms of our beliefs or our business, but just in terms of like, hey, let's look at this couple, or let's look at this person and set a general kind of goal for where we want to be. When we actually looked at their posts, their video views on YouTube, their, etc. I mean, theirs is like still a little bit higher, but they've also been doing this for years longer, right? They're like a household name in terms of like marketing, and yet their overall engagement and things like that isn't leaps and bounds different than where we are. But it feels that way, right? Because I had them on a pedestal. Yeah. So if you have the same sort of general idea, and for example, you're doing whatever, it doesn't matter, jewelry, as just since that's the easiest example to make. If you're doing jewelry and you go to, I don't know, just whoever you look up to, and they do, just look at their likes and their engagements and actually look at their comments. If it says 45 comments, look at what the comments are. Depending on where you're at, for example, on Instagram is notorious for having comments from other businesses that are just bullshit comments, right? They're just not what I call true engagement. There may be 4 or 5 people that actually say like, oh, I love this, or tag somebody else or whatever, but like for the most part, a lot of them's like, cool post, bro, DM me for pricing on website design. And it's just, so it's not real engagement, right? It's a waste of time. So whenever you produce posts, make sure that you're checking to see what sort of engagement you're getting, and then whether it's competition or model research, basically just see where you're going to fall compared to that person. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, yeah. And that's a great point, is looking at the type of engagement. Hi, welcome. Looking at the type of engagement to understand if it's actually good engagement or not, right? So likes are great, hearts are great, comments are even better. Sharing is even better than that.
Yeah.
So looking at those different metrics and seeing like what is actually going on in this post that's going to benefit my business, that I can take from this and use in my business and better understand where I fall and what I can do better. That's going to be really important as you study those different models, as you study your competition, the different businesses out there. And not just that, what we do is we look at other niches as well. So we're not just studying models and competition within our own realm, within marketing. We're studying businesses in product related industries. Yeah. We're studying businesses in other kinds of service related industries, in brick and mortar and larger company industries that have absolutely nothing to do, in college education and healthcare management, different things like that. We're studying different models to see what's working everywhere and how we can repurpose that in our industry as well to remain fresh and relevant and to do something new and different.
Yep. Now, word to the wise on that, excuse me. When you're constantly looking for outside sources of inspiration to run your business, you're going to end up pivoting a lot. And sometimes that can be beneficial. You're going to have tons of great ideas, and then other times you need to also realize that you need to stick to an idea. And that's just coming from me personally, because I tend to do that, right? I look for outside influences on everything, whether I'm walking around the mall, a podcast, whatever, and I start thinking like, oh, okay, I need to do this and that and that and this. And then the problem with that is I never officially kind of get started on anything, right? I'm constantly starting little mini projects without actually... And each one of them is different enough to where I have to be like, well, we have to completely revamp these email series or this or that, in order for it to be beneficial and as far as long-term involvement goes. But the problem being that the next week I see another podcast, or listen to another podcast, or I see another video, or I go to another event or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, now we need to do this. So anyways, in regards to creating content and how that is... Make sure that your message is clear. Make sure that you're not just cherry picking like a bunch of different ideas try to come up with some sort of solid game plan whenever you're doing that 5-week test. You want to, the only way that test works in any capacity, excuse me, is if you're able to produce something, excuse me again, gosh. If you're able to produce something solid. In other words, if you're able to continue the experiment in a way that is not you changing stuff up every single day.
Exactly. And when you look at that, make sure it is really beneficial to pivot, because it's giving you different things to test until you can find like, oh, okay, this is my sweet spot. This is what I really resonate with as far as a brand message. These are the designs that I really love. This is what my customers seem to be engaging the most with. But on the other side, like that should sound familiar to everyone as like shiny object syndrome, right? So every time something new and interesting comes along, wanting to pivot immediately and take advantage of it, that's not a good thing. But understanding that you can take that and incorporate it slowly into your business or test it out in smaller ways in your business can be beneficial. If you follow us on social media, especially most notably on Instagram, you'll have seen that over the last several months, we've tried a lot of different things, and the engagement goes up and down depending on what we try. And more than that, if you follow us on lots of different platforms, you'll see that we're implementing the 4 different personality types that we talk about in the DNC Marketing Personality Sales System in a lot of different ways to see what's resonating the best with our particular most interested customer base and where they're at. So being able to stay open-minded about testing all those different things, about pulling from different markets, your model research, your competition research, outside industries, customer feedback, which is incredibly important. That's going to be really important. So take note of it. Don't just ignore it. Don't just put it in the back of your mind and be like, oh, I'll get to it later. I'll think about it. Put it down on paper. Put it in a jar somewhere, an idea jar, which we have, and come back to it and see where you can use that. See how you can put that little by little into your business or test it out to see what's going to work.
Yeah, as Darian mentioned, that's part of the reason why establishing that personality is important, because you can establish that personality even in different social media platforms, right? So it's no secret that Instagram is much more visual. So that's going to appeal, although Instagram has, 200, million people on it at any given time. So, everybody to some extent is on it. It's still, so it's not about who's on the platform, it's about who's going to resonate with your message.
Yeah.
So you still either way want to figure out, on Instagram, do I need to be a little bit more fun and upbeat with my creative, in other words, with my videos or with my pictures, since it's visual, right? And then maybe like on your LinkedIn, you can have a little bit more subdued picture, but you have like really great content in your copy. It's different things, because different people, your audience may differ ever so slightly on each individual platform.
It definitely will, yeah.
But generally speaking, even if you didn't want to go that route, regardless, it's still good to know who you're talking to, because those people will still resonate with you on Instagram. It just may not be quite as big of a following as you could have had if you spoke in a slightly different voice. So that's the big thing about the personality thing, is that although you could or can sell to pretty much anybody by changing your tonality, if you only wanted to focus on one thing, which is totally okay, and you'll still have great success with it, this allows you to do that in every platform, and allows you to understand exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go.
And then another thing we want to talk about is, sorry, I have an eyelash in my eye, is looking at customer feedback. I'm going to make it, I promise. Looking at customer feedback, right? And not just waiting for it. That's the biggest mistake we see a lot of people, not the biggest mistake, we say that a lot. That is one really big mistake that we see people making, is not asking their customers for feedback. And it can be as simple as a poll on social media, a simple email that you put out. If you do consultation calls, at the end, what we have started doing at the end, ask them how it went. How did this consultation call go, whether it was paid or free? How did this go? Did I help you? What have I really done to help you move forward?
Yeah, and by doing that, we've actually been able to also pull testimonials, right? Because, for example, if it's a video client, one of the hardest things to do or ask for is like a video testimonial. Most people think, well, no one's going to give that. They don't have time. They're afraid of being in front of the camera, whatever. But if you are in the middle of doing a call and you're like, hey, and of course with that, you want to give them some sort of leading question, right? So you don't want to just say exactly those words of how'd this call go, because their answer could be like, this call went fine. Okay. You can say like, hey, did you think that I resonated with your story? Do you think I did this? Do you think I did that? You can kind of lead them on a little bit. Like, think of yourself as a reporter, right? You're trying to establish the connection and the story to whoever's going to eventually see it. And then by doing that, what you can do is at the end, after they've said their piece, because they're already on camera, right? They're already on Zoom or whatever. You've already been talking for 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. So like you are, your trust is up there. They already feel comfortable in front of you. So at that point, you can say, hey, would you mind if I shared this video testimonial, of what you said? I want to just edit it up a little bit to where it looks nice and pretty, and then I'll let you see it beforehand. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Yep.
And it's no big deal. And if you wanted to incentivize it, they can be, you can do that. Say, hey, I give 10% off for all video testimonials. I mean, what you did is basically a video testimonial. Would you mind if I pulled this and just polished it up a little bit and then published it? Again, and you can see it beforehand if you want to. I'll send you the link. And if all that's good, you also get 10% off your order or whatever. Right. And again, most people are going to be like, oh yeah, for sure. Because you're not actually asking for any additional work, right? They already did the work without them even knowing they did the work. They're there. Now, of course, you do want to ask, right? It's not, you never want to go into some sort of legal battle or just make people feel like they've been manipulated. So you never want to just pull testimonials because it's always a better idea to ask for permission. So there you go.
Because you're using their likeness, so 100% you need to ask permission. And the way I do it is I look at it, it's purely a feedback thing for me when we're on the call, because the whole point of our calls is to make sure we are helping people move forward, make sure that the strategies they're implementing that we've coached them on are actually working. So I come at it from asking for feedback. How can we be better? How have we done so far? And I just ask them simply, how has this gone for you? Tell me about this process and what you think. And as they're talking about all those things, it's always positive that's coming out. And so I'm getting all that great feedback. Were I to get negative feedback, that's also great, because that gives us a chance to now work on something or, go the extra mile for this particular client, because for whatever reason, there's a strategy, disconnect somewhere.
Exactly.
But because it comes out as mostly positive, then at the end or afterward, after we've looked at it and decided, yeah, this would make for a good testimonial, then we email them and let them know, hey, I would love if we could use this. Would that be okay? Exactly.
Just like she said. And the beauty of that is you can, and I don't mean this in terms of like trying to be manipulative, but what you can do in a good way is you can talk to the customer, and let's say they were like, oh my God, I loved how you did this. I don't think that you really heard me though when I said this. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're able to establish that connection, and you can talk to them and say, oh my God, I'm sorry about that. Let me fix that. Let me help you more, and you can continue on. From there, after you do that, which is good for them, right? Yeah. It makes them feel like you actually care. So that's perfect. And then from there, like Darian was saying, like you can send them an email the next day or whatever and say, hey, I really enjoyed our topic or our talk. I would love to use your video as testimonial, blah, blah, blah. And because you took that extra step, again, they're even more likely to say yes, because they are happy with you. You took that extra step. You saw what was their problem with what you said or what you did or what you didn't say. You overcame that. You talked to them a little bit longer. You tried to explain to them your pricing better, whatever the case is. They say yes, and now you can take that video testimonial and you can edit out the negative portion and continue the positive portion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and if we were to do something like that, we haven't had to do anything like that, but we would ask, right? Just like we would give them the video, which we've done that before because we put pictures and images and things like that.
Well, and that's why it's important to give them the video link and say, hey, here's the finished product. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right? Because, just like anybody else, if that you don't want to you don't want to make them feel like they were manipulated or whatever. So if they say like, that's awesome, thank you so much, and yes, I'll hear from you in a week or something, then you're good.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about it. But if it's the opposite, right, and they say, like, well, you made it sound like it was all positive, and I don't really appreciate that because I had some big issue.
Right.
Then you can be like, okay, well, what is that issue?
Right.
Make sense?
It gives you that's actually a great point because it gives you another chance to overcome objections with that particular customer. And the more touch points you have with a customer, the easier it's going to be to convert and to actually gain a loyal follower over time.
Yeah.
You want to really use that customer service to the utmost and really go the extra mile for your people, especially while you're able to. A lot of smaller businesses feel like, oh, I don't have anything to offer that the bigger businesses aren't already doing. Well, customer service is like the number one thing you can offer to differentiate yourself. Being able to go that extra mile is going to be worlds appreciated above what bigger businesses can do in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, I don't have time. And my reaction to that is, do you not have time to make that sale? You know what I mean? Like, it's a slightly different mindset of saying like, well, but now I have to talk to these customers and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, what else are you doing? Like if you're struggling, if you are not really making sales, if you are, to start talking to people, right? Like you're the people you are emailing, and you're, instead of just sending them a random ass email that says, hey, I'm, 25% off sale, which they get 1.5 million of. Go to, there's all sorts of different free versions. I think there's like a thing called like Video Hippo. That's another one. What was that other one we used to use? Loom, yeah. Another great one. Where they have like a free version, and all you have to do is you can create a sales video effectively for them, right?
We've done that many times, and not just with sales videos. With when we get emails from customers saying like, oh, we're going to have to take a break from our working relationship because our family's going through this hardship. We've sent them like heartfelt videos and things, and let them know we're thinking about them, and we hope nothing but the best. So
the thing about the video is that it's true for them. Does it make sense? Because it is directed at them. It is not something
personalized.
Exactly. It is not something that is just random. It is. You are not just getting an email that says, hey, first name, that automatically gets generated to Pamela or Sandra or, Janet or Jim or whoever. You are actually producing a video that specifically says, hey, Jim, I'm so sorry to hear about what happened. Of course, if there's anything you need from us, please let us know. Otherwise, I'll shoot you. And again, it doesn't have to be about, something actually bad happening. It could just be that you are... It could just be something as simple as they just said, well, let me take a little bit of time to think about it, blah, blah, blah. You try to overcome those objections. You try to deflect objections. You ask for the sale. You've done everything you possibly can, and he or she still has not pulled the trigger in terms of buying your jewelry piece. Well, that's a great way to, again, differentiate yourself, because how many other people are doing that, right? So jump on, take 15 seconds out of your life, just put on some lighting. It doesn't have to be perfect, because the entire point of it is that, hey, I'm just thinking about you.
Yeah.
Right? It's, hey, just, in your car, like when you're parked or whatever, you can get all these little apps and just shoot a quick video and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know, this. Anyways, go from there, send the video, and that's it. And you're going to be surprised how many people are actually going to reply back.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's going to restart the sales process.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and just showing that you care, right? The biggest thing is your customers know that you care, and that is really hard to get across in today's market where everything is, personalized in a quote-unquote way. So going the extra mile to really show them while you have the time, while you're smaller, or even as you grow and you're having to hustle a little bit and you're like, man, I don't know how I'm going to fit this in, like finding the time to show your customers that you care, because word of mouth is by far the number one best marketing in the world. Word of mouth, third-party testimonials, people saying that you were awesome and here's why, is going to outperform any ad any day if you've got the numbers for it. So, taking the time to really show people that. And then you can use those experiences for content. So bringing it right back to content to everything. And Alfonso has something to say here too.
Yeah.
Bringing it right back to content. You can use those customer experiences also for content. So we put out one, the Dirty Hands approach to hiring for your business. We put out one blog post that was titled that, and that came from our experience in hiring more team members. And what I did was I really dug into the process and what I wanted when I had a team. And I took from our models and people that we worked with, our competitors, and I saw what they were doing with their teams because I follow them or I've worked directly with them. And I decided I want to incorporate all these things because I want our team to be a strong team, a happy team. I don't want us to just be like, oh, contractor number 1 is taking on this project. I want it to be like, no, so-and-so, whose name I know, whose situation I'm familiar with, who I have meetings with often. Like, this is what's going on with them, and these are the plans we have for our team for the future. So during the onboarding process, I created all of these different things I wanted to do that I had them fill out before we even hired them, had the meetings, we discussed it. Like, it was an in-depth, time-consuming process. Yep. Because we wanted to make sure they were the right people. And so a lot of the content that we've put out during that time came from understanding that process better. So as you grow as an entrepreneur, think about not necessarily just if you're jewelry, for example, if you're healthcare, if you are a hairdresser, whatever it is, think a little bit bigger than that. Your experience as an entrepreneur is an enigma to most people. Right? You are an interesting individual doing something that other people only dream about, or it never even crossed their minds was a possibility. So talk about that journey as well. We want to focus in on the brand message. So if you can tie that into the brand message, you're going to be worlds ahead of everybody else. But thinking about like, I have a lot more to offer than just, here's this jewelry I created, it's 20% off. You have a lot to say. And so thinking about it from that perspective in your experience as an entrepreneur, like Julio was saying, I don't know if it was in a comment or maybe it was as we were just starting that, when we had our family difficulty a few weeks ago, we had to go home for a death in the family. While we were in the terminal, we were still working. We were still taking pictures and, stock of the surroundings and seeing like, okay, I see that marketing tactic and I have something to say about it. Let me, take a quick picture and post it. And it started a discussion, an honest, transparent discussion. Right. So that can also be great content there.
Exactly. So Toby and Alfonso, we will get to your comments. I promise we'll answer your questions. We're just going to cover a couple quick things and then we will start answering those. Excuse me. So I think what Darian was basically getting at was the idea of documentation versus creation.
Yes.
So you don't have to think of content as always as what can I produce. It can be like what in my day-to-day life would my followers excuse me, what in my day-to-day life would my followers actually enjoy seeing that relates to my business. And as Darian mentioned, when we're in the terminal and we're walking around, I'm seeing these ads and I'm like, some of them are good, some of them are bad. I take some quick pictures, give my 2 cents, and then some of you have seen those and you engage with them and say, oh, I like this, or you gave your opinion on the ad or what it was going for, whatever, So like, that's exactly what you want to do just in your particular market. So again, if you are doing jewelry or something like that, the easiest way to do that is you can look to see what kind of jewelry pieces are around you, right? As you walk around, most places are going to have local jewelry things in their airports or whatever. Like little shows or whatever the case is, you can go and check those out. You can try to get inspiration. You can take a quick picture and say, hey guys, what do you think about something that looks like this for my next showcase? But I was thinking about changing it from rubies to some turquoise stones or something, to where people can go like, oh, I really like that idea, or oh no, I don't like that. And it's just about starting and engaging a conversation, and if you can end your posts with things like, what do you think? That's where you're going to get the best overall engagement, because you're asking people for their opinion.
Yeah.
And as you know, with the online atmosphere, that is basically what you want. People want to share their thoughts and their opinions. Whether or not it actually ends up making any big difference in your business is totally up to you. But you are giving them the ability to jump in.
Open the loop, right? You don't want to end any kind of post with a closed loop. You want to make sure that people have the opportunity to give their opinion. And I've seen that particular thing done really well in jewelry by one particular individual, Marsha, I believe. She sells turquoise jewelry, and one of her posts is about how to tell the difference between real and fake turquoise, right? So if you're out and about and you do find, like at the airport, this piece, and you're the expert and you're like, oh, I can tell that this is fake and here's why. Or even if it's real, I can tell that this is real and here's how I know that. That is a live piece, and you don't necessarily have to be like, oh, I already wrote about it, so I can't talk about it. No, the more you continue to spread the particular message or a particular topic that you are an expert at, the more prolific you are. Right? Think about Stephen King as an author. He writes horror. Well, because he wrote, Carrie first, he wasn't just done because he wrote his horror story. No, he continued on and wrote, I don't know, how many books is he on now?
Like, I don't know, a ton.
A ton. Probably over 100 by now. It's a lot of books. He's incredibly prolific, but he continues to reinvent the horror story again and again. So continuing your message, just one single topic that you're an expert on that you know about in different avenues in different ways, and we've talked about repurposing before, that's incredibly important because now you're showing people, more and more people, because they're going to keep coming, that you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So why don't you hit the next topic point?
Okay, the brain vomit exercise. So if you've heard me talk about this before, please chime into the comments because it's a really fun topic. And it is the easiest way I know of to create content, to create a particular piece of content. So here's what I do. And at the end here, we're going to give you a special gift that we created to help you create content for the entire year, to help you start developing an idea plan for content.
Yep.
And part of this is going to be the brain vomit exercise. So after you've used our gift to plan and line out everything, use this exercise when you're dealing with each individual piece of content. Think of the topic you want to write about and everything to do with it. Just have it in your mind and then just brain vomit it out onto a piece of paper or onto your computer or into your phone if you want to do audio.
Yep.
And everything you can think about it. Don't censor yourself. Don't stop yourself. Just put it all down. Then you go back and you start to edit and you start to figure out what the main idea you were trying to get out was. And from there, you can use everything you've written to support that idea. And after you have gone through all of that and refined it, now you have that piece of content. And the biggest problem I see is people freezing at the blank page. So hopefully this is going to help you just get it all down on paper and then go back and edit. The main idea here is just put it down. Don't censor yourself. Don't stop yourself. Don't edit as you write. Finish the whole piece and then go back and start to edit and start to work on it.
Yeah, and that's a great step one. I think the next step to that would be actually going into Google Trends, or another website that we recommend is called answerthepublic.com.
And we'll put that in the comments too.
Oh, God.
Don't sneeze.
I'm going to sneeze.
Don't sneeze.
I'm sorry.
I'll put it in the comments right now.
Okay, wait. All right, you do that. Okay, I stifled it. Basically, it's what it does. You can do it as a free version. You can type in like a certain thing. Just for example, let's just say you typed in the word jewelry. Okay. It'll then go off of like a branch, and it'll say like, what are people searching for when it comes to that particular keyword? It might say like, what's the cheapest jewelry? What's the most expensive jewelry? How much does jewelry usually go for? And you can just literally go piece by piece by piece, and without it being like a paid version or anything like that, and start answering those questions, because it's literally telling you that these are some of the things that people ask the most about. So then you can start creating content on your Instagram post or whatever that says like, what's the most expensive jewelry in the world? And then you maybe show a picture and you go, but as we all know, that's all because it's name brand.
Yeah.
The true value of that jewelry would be blank, and that's only $4,000. So what is the jewelry markup price? And then you can tie it into you and how you don't do that sort of crazy markup, how you keep things humble because you're a small business, and that part of your profits go to a charity or whatever. Like you can figure out a way to manipulate that story and using that word in a positive way.
Yeah.
Manipulate that story or that question into, this is how I fit it, this is what I can do better, and this is how my jewelry is better, or can be the answer to that question.
Right, and that all also ties into your brand message. So if your brand message and your target market are looking for some budget-friendly something, whatever you're selling, and they believe in humble beginnings and grassroots and all those things, that's how that would work really well. If your market's the opposite and they want that high end, then you talk about why it is so important that this particular name brand keep their prices high and the comparison between. Right?
Yeah,
so
and then
use all that information to support your brand message as well.
You're now allowing yourself to be compared to a Gucci or a Tiffany's or whatever. Like you want again, all depends on your angle.
Yes.
Right? It's just about angling and positioning yourself, and especially if you're doing something from a comparative standpoint, it's about angling or positioning yourself against or with that particular brand.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Let us know in the comments how you think about that, what your particular take on the angle is, what you would be posting, for example.
Okie dokie. So, should we go over the comments and questions real quick before we give them their free gift?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, let's go over that. First things first, I wanted to... So, here's a message that we received a couple hours ago. It says, as jewelry is so often repetitive and there are only so many ways to describe a pair of earrings in a certain design, maybe with only color or length options, I find it difficult to come up with interesting or fun ways to write the description. Maybe a short one, but the more detailed one, maybe, that's what you meant. Seriously, there is not much more I can say.
Thank you for your comment, Caroline.
Thank you so much. So, that's something that is very common, right? But it's not just about jewelry. It's about anything. You sell t-shirts. I mean, us, right? We are starting these lives and doing all these things. But the truth is, the reality is that especially before we started these lives, I mean, if you were just a fly on the wall, you would hear us talking back and forth. And me personally, I'm like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
You know, why would anybody care? We already have this in the course. So why would any of our members tune in? People can already get information about, if they just Google content marketing, they can get at least some general tidbits of information the same sort of information, generally speaking, that we would share. Not every single thing, of course, but they would have some knowledge of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so what makes us any different? And I guess the answer to that is just that two things. We're different. We have a different take on it. We'll give different examples. Some things may resonate with our audience better than if they just looked up random blog post A.
Yeah.
B, or I guess the second thing, not B.
He does that all the time. A2.
Anyways, but no, the second thing would be that... I lost it.
Oh no, I'm distracted.
Goldfish.
But, I mean, the important thing is that, understanding who you are as a business. And again, I keep saying this, but it does tie back into your brand message, because if you understand your brand message, you're going to know how to talk to your people. And by understanding which personality type you're talking to, you know how to frame how you talk to your people.
I got it. Okay. So number 2 is that people are going to be new, right? That's the entire point of your business. Granted, of course, you want to take care of your customers. That is always a priority, but the other part of that is in order to establish growth, you need to have new people coming in buying your stuff, whatever it is, whether it's services, courses, t-shirts, jewelry, shaving kits, whatever it is that you're selling. You need to be getting more customers. That's the entire point of online e-commerce and Facebook ads, and it's getting more and more people to know who you are and to shop with you.
Yeah.
Right. So my thought process was always just, people already know this. If they're already members, they already know this. But the truth is that we get people that are buying into the course every day. So when there are new members, they may not know this.
Yeah. Somebody
out there somewhere is typing in for the first time ever, how do I start an online business? Right? And it's not just one person. It's thousands and thousands of people. How do I get better engagement? How do I, it's just like, how do I blank? There's either people completely new, or there's people that are novice enough to where like they don't just know things. And then you have the other side where, but have you done? Right? And
this is huge too, because somebody can listen to the same advice over and over again, and we've seen it happen, and never take action. And they're like, I don't know what's not working. I don't get it. Yeah. There's like, well, have you done anything we've asked you to do? No? There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Or again, with that, just like the thing I was talking about with my kind of like goldfish brain, you have this idea, and then you're like, the very next day, you're like, ooh, it's that shiny object, right? Like, I like this idea better. Let me do this. And then you pivot. but you never gave that first idea any chance, right? And again, there are certain cases where pivoting is beneficial, and other cases when it's not. So that's my point to it, is you want to make sure that you're figuring out exactly when it's beneficial and when it's not. But,
my advice to Carolyn would be just write down every topic you can think of, whether you think it's been covered enough by the jewelry industry or not. Every topic you can think of that relates to your particular brand message, that your particular personality type of customer is going to be interested in, that has to do with your particular jewelry and jewelry in general. Write it down. Create a list of 100 topics. And then you can go back and you can start to go through that as your topic list and put your framework on it. Just because it's been covered somewhere else does not mean your input is not valuable. It 100% is. And if your customers are on your website, they want to know what you think about this.
And one thing I want to make sure I mention, just because it's going to help with product descriptions and a whole bunch of other things, is keep in mind that not everything has to be 100%, I guess, nonfiction. Does that make sense? That's nonfiction is
the true one.
Yeah. Okay. I always get confused. All right. Anyways, my point being that sometimes you know, in order to have a story, sometimes that story needs to be manufactured or tweaked, right? It doesn't, I'm not suggesting that you lie, right? Like, I don't say, like, for example, we're working with somebody right now who, when we were writing the product descriptions, we're not lying and saying, like, this jewelry was owned by this celebrity or something, but maybe that jewelry was looks very similar, like almost identical to a piece that a celebrity did wear. Okay, well, now we can say, like, this piece is inspired by exactly the love necklace, you know, Demi Moore, you know, had in Ghost, or I don't know, whatever, you know, like whatever random thing we want to do, as long as it fits the brand and it fits the overall message, you can kind of create a story behind it. Now, for those of you that are creatives, most of the time, there's a reason why you created this certain piece, right? There's something that it was in your life. There's something that resonated with you, that inspired you. So take that. All you got to do at that point is try to hold on, write down, you know, say, transcribe into your phone, whatever, why you're creating it. What made you say, like, oh man, you know what? I really like this. And it could be something very simple. Like, I just saw this and some woman was wearing it, while she was walking away. And when I saw it, I was just like, wow. And now you say, okay, how can I put that to my customers? You can literally say, like, this is something that makes people stop while you're walking across the street and look at you and say, she is, you know, beautiful and you're a work of art, or whatever. You know, like, you had that experience, you had that feeling, so now you can put it there. But it could be difficult for you to remember why you did it, you know, 2 weeks later, when you have this overall sketch and design and you're just like, I don't really understand. I like this piece, but I don't see how it resonates anymore. Like, if you can figure it out right then and there, and you can make a little note of it, it's much easier to start that storyline.
Right. And you can use this in content as well. So creating the story your particular customers are going to resonate with. If it's a golden retriever, you know they like the ups and downs. If it's an otter, you know they like high emotion, high energy. If it's a lion, you know they really want some straightforward factual information. And if it's a beaver, you know they want all the details. So create your content using those thoughts. And if you do have to manufacture a story, like, just, I don't think of it as manufacturing, because in some place in the world, people are experiencing these things. So if you're saying, like, well, I never actually had one customer tell me that they felt, you know, blue was a calming color. Well, no, but you know that is a true thing for a lot of people. So you can use that. It's a true thing for a lot of people. It's a commonly felt emotion, shared ideal, whatever it might be. So feel free to use that. Like, don't put yourself in such a small, stringent box, because it's just not necessary, and it's just going to make your life a lot harder with that.
Exactly. So let's go into the actual comments themselves. Let me start with this one right here. This is from Toby. It said, I personally find the holiday madness distasteful, so I usually give the gift of an experience instead. Wondering how I might find a way to use a similar strategy for my jewelry business. The whole Black Friday or Cyber Monday insanity is icky to me. Laughy face.
Well,
All
and
right.
Toby's particular target market is really interesting too, in that this is about your target market, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, Toby, is, you know, women who want a taste of adventure that's a little bit different, right? Like, you ride motorcycles and you go with a lot of people that ride motorcycles. And a lot of your target market are women, sometimes men, who ride motorcycles. A lot of times there's a story behind those particular women. In the content that I've seen you put out, you've talked about certain customers' stories and how they've gone through a particular hardship, but they find, like, riding with their community, this tribe of people that you all get together with, is freeing for them on some level.
Right.
So...
What?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that basically what Darian was saying was that you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the room to establish your brand message, right? You don't have to sit there and say Cyber Monday deal and be like everybody else. Mm-hmm. That being said, I also learned that there's something to be said about going against the grain too much. Right? So, like, there's a reason why things like Cyber Monday and Black Friday and all that work. You can use that in your keywords if you're creating an ad or something like that. You don't necessarily even have to truly address it in your ad. And you don't have to even address it, like, on your website necessarily. But it's something to use, again, whether it's in a Google ad or a Facebook ad or whatever, in order to ensure that your stuff is being seen with everybody else. Like, people are, although your message needs to resonate with your audience and you want to make sure that you're being true to yourself, you also can't get stuck on the idea of sales are icky. Like, we are still here to make money and people are searching for those terms. Whether it's new people or an old audience, they are aware that there's such a thing as the Cyber Monday deal. And you can go counterculture, right? You can say, like, I hate Cyber Monday, so here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to do blank. And then you give them a bigger sale for something else. Or you're going to give them, there's no sale for Cyber Monday, but if they, I don't know, share this message that says Cyber Mondays are ruining e-commerce, then you'll give them a free gift. I don't know. Like, my point is that you can
reframe
it exactly, and it doesn't have to just be a big old banner that has a bunch of confetti that says Cyber Monday 50% off selected items.
Right, because that wouldn't fit your particular target market at all.
Right.
What I would suggest is actually asking your customers, like, do you shop on Cyber Monday or on Black Friday? Do you wait around during the year for particular deals on those days? And if their answer is yes, then you have your answer.
Right.
Like, you do kind of need to cater to your customers in that way, even if you're like, ugh, I really hate the madness of it. We don't like to go out on Black Friday either.
Right.
We probably will go out later in the day to get whatever's not picked off if we need things. But we don't count on it. It's not a big thing for us.
Yeah.
So marketing Cyber Monday, Black Friday to us online, we're not really that interested. We don't care.
Yeah.
However, there are a lot of people who count on that because it's part of their yearly budget for their kids' school clothes.
Even knowing that they're not saving money.
Yeah.
Like,
even if
they know, like, it's literally just, I mean, again, it's just something to be said. It's just general marketing. There's something to be said about it. So you can sit there and say, because I understand it, like, this is stupid, but if the overall public is still answering to that, you still need to, not need to, but I'd advise, if you are seeing sales because of Cyber Monday or Black Friday or whatever coming in, you still should, at least get your message out there during those time frames.
Right, and you can do different things, like Julio said. Weigh the pros and cons, though. So if you do, like, a sale beforehand and you make it known, like, I don't like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, I don't believe in the madness of it, whatever your brand message for that particular ad's going to be. So I'm giving you an early one so that you can get the things that you need before the madness starts.
Yeah.
Or you can save it for after and say, like, look, I know it was craziness and I didn't want to participate in the craziness, so I'm giving you this chance after the fact. However, just know, like, maybe they spent all their money during the madness. Or if you're offering beforehand, maybe they're not ready to buy. So, like, weighing those pros and cons, testing and trying different ways to get that across, And like Julio said, maybe just offering a free gift because you're like, I don't want you to spend any money. Share this, share the message. Let's support each other as a community.
Right.
And, like, here's a little something extra for the holidays that's going to help de-stress or something.
Yeah. And then Alfonso's message says, it's hard for me to read.
I'll read it.
Okay.
My sales are great. Inventory is low most of the weeks, so I push for online sales at this point. And
should
I push for online sales at this point? And
are you sure you don't want me to read it?
Shut up. And is content creators worth hiring due to my limiting hours in a day, petitioning for 40-hour days?
I'm assuming 40-hour weeks.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
If you figured out how to have a 40-hour day, let me know.
Yeah, we need that too.
Yeah. No.
That's a good question. And if you have funds to hire people for content creation and you have limited time to do it yourself, I would say that is a good idea. However, content is very difficult to outsource in our experience.
Oh, okay. Well, let me before I even say that, let me just put in that my belief is that sales are king, right? So if you say your sales are great, inventory is low most of the weeks. So in other words, you're selling. That's what I'm taking that sentence as saying. Like, I'm killing it. People are buying my stuff. Most of the time, I can barely keep it in stock. I would say that unless your manufacturing improves and you're able to keep more things in stock, that there isn't a point of really gaining that, really pushing that content super hard, because the whole reason why you want to is to gain more followers, likes, engagement, and all that stuff for SEO purposes and for algorithm purposes, and that is great. What is the end goal to that? The end goal for everybody, and if you're different, let me know. But generally speaking, the end goal for everybody is to make sales, right? So if you're already killing it and you already have your inventory super low, then the additional sales might end up actually being, I wouldn't say problematic, but if you don't have them ready and you have to now tell people like, oh, well, it's going to be 10 weeks to produce this, or it's going to be whatever, and you find that is something that's actually hurting your business, my whole point is it could actually hurt your business, right? You get a lot of people, then you have to turn a lot of people away. There's two things that can happen. Either A, you raise your prices in order to now narrow down
supply and demand.
Exactly. Or you have to try to figure out how to manufacture more in order to meet that new demand. Either way, you want to get ahead of the curve, because the more people you turn away, the more bad experiences those customers are going to have. And I can't remember exactly where this is from, but I remember reading that it's like for every positive experience somebody has, it's like 1 out of 7 positive experiences they'll write a review about, or something like that. But for every negative experience somebody has, they'll write a review that gets shared or engaged with like 40 times. So in other words, 7 people see that positive post, 40 people see that negative post.
Right, because
something along those lines.
That's what we're looking for when we shop, right? We want to know what the experiences were. Most notably, we want to know if anybody had a negative experience. And that's going to make our decision on if we're going to use you as a service, buy your product, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and actually, really, like, how many times have you done that? I know for me, I have. Whenever I go to Amazon, I'm searching for something, and like it has like 4.5 stars, and I'm reading like, I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom to see the reviews, and maybe like there's 2 bad reviews in a row, and immediately my mind is like, man, I wonder if they switched manufacturers. I wonder if, because both these people had issues, they didn't resolve these issues. I didn't see any contact from the
in the review
manufacturer or whatever, saying like, hey, we'd love to take care of you or whatever, now I'm like, let me check out somebody else, and they can still have 4.5 stars. They still have 500 reviews, and they still have a lion's share of them being 5-star reviews, and yet just off seeing 2 1-star comments in a row, suddenly I'm like, let me look other places before I even think about getting this one. Does that make sense?
Having said that, now is a great time to learn your best content strategy. While sales are really good and there's no pressure on you to use content marketing to make sales, now is the time to figure out the strategy you want to use and start testing on a micro level that maybe a lot of followers and stuff aren't necessarily going to notice in any difference. But you notice, you can see the difference in engagement. You can see different things happening when you put money behind ads, promoting content, whatever it might be. It gives you an idea, because at some point there may be the day where just the sales that are happening right now change because of Google algorithms, Facebook algorithms, a change in your local area that maybe diverts traffic away from your store, whatever it might be.
Right.
Having that in your back pocket is a great strategy to start picking up the slack when you see a dip in sales for any reason.
Yeah. And Alfonso says, thank you. I feel that I can't keep up with orders during the holidays, but would like to try Cyber Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're welcome. I mean, we're always here for advice. Sometimes it's really great advice, and sometimes you're like, I don't know about it. Either way, we want to know. I mean, like, really, like, if you don't agree, let us know, and we can always figure out why like, we can talk. We can figure this out, whether it's on here or you want to DM us and you're like, hey, you said this, but I have a big question about it because, of X, Y, and Z. And then we can kind of go into that a little bit further. The entire reason why we do these is to engage with y'all and to help. We have a very vast amount of knowledge on a lot of different topics and a lot of different things. And in general, for the most part, a business is a business is a business. So
Mm-hmm.
like whenever I've had businesses that were e-commerce, I've had businesses that were physical, to where like I understand the need for hiring real people, training real people, having inventory, staying up till midnight or 2 a.m. going through inventory and having to count 300 pieces of individual items and having, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So Darian and I have a lot of different experiences. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And we've got a lot of knowledge that we've also cultivated through training and stuff like that. Not just experience in life, but experience through training and different things that we've learned. Experiences with hundreds of clients in vastly different industries who we've helped and coached to success. So anything that I doubt there is something you could bring up that would surprise us at this point.
And then I was thinking about doing less art shows and more online sales. So my question to that would end up being, how well are the art shows going? Because if they're going really well, online sales are tricky. They just are. If you do not have online sales currently, you don't really have a way to start them. I wouldn't necessarily go away from it, from the art shows and things like that. Unless they're taking up so much time that you cannot do online sales at all. If that is not the case, and you are able to even just start creating content once a week, if you're able to take like an ads course, go on Facebook Blueprint or something like that, and you start reading about how Facebook ads actually work, and you're able to just produce that one ad and put in $100 for this week and see how that plays out and see if you get any sales, see if you get anybody to join your email list. Like, I would suggest, if before you start to try to fix something that's not broken, for the idea that online sales will help you make it life easier for you to where you don't have to travel, that is definitely a possibility. I would just make sure that you're still paying your bills, you're still getting your money, you're still doing what you need to do in those art shows before you commit 100% to the online sales.
Right. And I just had a coaching call not too long ago with somebody who had decided to pull out of a couple of stores and an art show because it was not meeting their standards. So if you have a relationship with a current art show or store where you have consignment or wholesale, measure the benefit to your particular business that's providing you. If it's costing more stress, more time, and actually costing you money because your stuff is just sitting on shelves at that point and nobody's buying, good idea to pull out and direct your energy and your resources elsewhere. But like Julio said, if the online sales are not yet there, great time for content marketing to start, playing with that. There's no reason to just, pull money out of your pocket and throw it away.
Right. Okay. So with that, we want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in. Please make sure that you, well, I guess rewatch up to this point, at least, if you did tune in, because we are going to give you a free gift.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, so here we go. Let me talk to you a little bit about it. Ta-da! Oh, my face is covered. Dang it.
Well, drag it down. Can you move it? There you go.
Boom.
Put the link.
Putting the link. Basically, here, I'll let you do that.
Okay.
So we created this ebook, this workbook, e-workbook. It's going to, what am I trying to say here? Okay. It's called the 3 Steps to a Branded Content-Filled Year. It's about the content. It's a little bit about what we're talking about now. If you'd like to download that, go ahead and click the link. It's going to ask for you to just share our group with people that you know that might enjoy it. And once you do, you'll be able to download the free workbook. Again, completely for free. Doesn't we don't ask you to do it's not 99 cents, it's not $5. We're not giving you a free trial. It's just free. And then please let us know what you think of it. It's also an editable workbook, so all you got to do is open it up and you can actually type things out, put in source material. So yeah, just give us a holler and let us know what you think. And we really appreciate everything that y'all do for us. We appreciate your time and just how awesome y'all are.
Yeah, we do. And we appreciate you sharing in order to get this ebook. It's got a calendar in there, the full year, right? It's got a whole lot of information, and it takes you through the 3 steps to actually brainstorming and creating a plan.
And gives us some final thoughts and some kind of content 101 strategies. So it's really beneficial, for sure.
It is. And especially what I have found as we grow, there are times when I need to go back to basics for a lot of things because I have forgotten. And in fact, we've addressed this before. The strategy we're using now is really similar to the strategy we started with when we were D&C copywriting years ago.
Yeah.
And it's because of the simplicity and the beauty of simplicity there, not just in making sure we have time to devote as a family and to our son, but also because it's just easier for customers to understand your business when you bring it back to simple.
Exactly.
And you're not trying to overcomplicate and add in every single shiny object you can possibly find.
Yeah.
So our goal with this ebook is to help you come back to basics and see things from that perspective so that you can start planning and implementing in the easiest, most minimally stressful way possible.
Exactly. That is it for us. Again, thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to let us know. DM us, and we'll just talk to you on Friday. We do our live Q&A, and tomorrow we're going to do an ad reaction, so make sure you look out for that.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time and your patience, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.